Top of the day, beautiful people. Shalom, auntie. Shalom, shalom. Okay. Putting this together here. My beautiful people. Salud, Bona, Tiffany. Hey, hey, hey. Lavon, blessings. Just a screen for y'all. Alright, beautiful people. Sorry for my slight delay this morning. Shayla, hey girl, hey. Let me tell y'all what I did. I decided I was going to lay back down and close my eyes. And here's what's crazy. When I did that, I dreamt that I was going to be late this morning. It's crazy. So when my eyes open, I'm like, shoot. Here I go. I'm up, running around and stuff. Uncle Nathaniel, peaceful greetings, but Twabu. Trina, look. Yeah, so don't do that, Pamela. When you're up, just go and get up. Yeah, so that's why a lot of times, even though sometimes I still be sleepy, I'll be like, you know, I'll just go ahead and set my clock. And now I'll get up in 10 minutes. And that 10 minutes turn into a whole 30 minutes. And voila, I'm late, right? Shalom, Mom. So that's what I'm tired of this morning, y'all. I decided I want to get in the extra 10 minutes. Yeah. You see how that turned out, right? All right. But yeah, that definitely, I think yesterday, I was extreme, not necessarily extremely tired, but I was more tired than normal because we spent the majority of the day yesterday out at the pool with the kids and sitting in the hot sun. Although the sun was feeling good and it energized me, boy, I went to bed. Shucks, we got back here about 7. I was in the bed by 8, right? Yo, I got a lot of sleep last night, like a lot of sleep, and thought I still needed 10 more minutes when I got up this morning. Yeah, no, we're not doing that again. But anyway, y'all, happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. It is July the 15th, 2021, day 207 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 876. Today, we start the book of Jeremiah, y'all. We're in Jeremiah 1, 2, and 3, and then we're picking up in Fossilized Customs on page 242. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and do the Shema, which is found in Deuteronomy chapter 6, and we start in verse 3. Remember, take the time and read the entire chapter of Deuteronomy chapter 6 because I'm just kind of condensing it, right, to pull out the main points. But you want to read the whole thing so you know what the entire chapter says, right? Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah, the Elohim of our fathers, has promised us, in the land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah, our mighty one, he is one. And you shall love Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children. And you shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up.
And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes, and you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuwah our mighty one, for our good always, that he might preserve us alive, as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuwah our mighty one, as he has commanded us. All right, y'all. Jeremiah chapter 1. These are the words of Jeremiah, son of Hilkiah, one of the priests from the town of Anathoth in the land of Benjamin. So not only was Jeremiah a prophet, Jeremiah was also a priest, right? And he was the son of a priest, right? Okay. Yahuwah first gave messages to Jeremiah during the 13th year of the reign of Josiah, son of Ammon, the king of Judah. Yahuwah's messages continued throughout the reign of King Jehoiakim, Josiah's son, until the 11th year of the reign of Zedekiah, another of Josiah's sons. In August of that 11th year, the people of Jerusalem were taken away as captives. Jeremiah's call and first visions. Yahuwah gave me this message. I knew you before you were formed. I knew you before I formed you in your mother's womb. Before you were born, I set you apart and appointed you as my prophet to the nations. O sovereign Lord, I said, I can't speak for you. I'm too young. Yahuwah replied, don't say I am too young, for you must go wherever I send you and say whatever I tell you. And don't be afraid of the people, for I will be with you and will protect you. I, Yahuwah, have spoken. Then Yahuwah reached out and touched my mouth and said, look, I have put my words in your mouth. Today I appoint you to stand up against nations and kingdoms. Some you must uproot and tear down, destroy and overthrow. Others you must build up and plant. Then Yahuwah said to me, look, Jeremiah, what do you see? And I replied, I see a branch from an almond tree. And then Yahuwah said, that's right, and it means that I am watching, and I will certainly carry out my plans. Then Yahuwah spoke to me again and asked, what do you see now? And I replied, I see a pot of boiling water spilling from the north. Yes, Yahuwah said, for terror from the north will bore out on the people of this land. Listen, I am calling the armies of the kingdoms of the north to come to Jerusalem. I, Yahuwah, have spoken. They will set their thrones at the gates of the city. They will attack its walls and all the other towns of Judah. I will pronounce judgment on my people for all of their evil, for deserting me and burning incense to other gods. Yes, they worship idols made with their own hands. Get up and prepare for action. Go out and tell them everything I tell you to say. Do not be afraid of them, or I will make you look foolish in front of them. For see, today I have made you strong, like a fortified city that cannot be captured. Like an iron pillar or a bronze wall, you will stand against the whole land, the kings, officials, priests, and people of Judah. They will fight you, but they will fail. For I am with you, and I will take care of you. I, Yahuwah, have spoken. All right. Jeremiah chapter 2. Yahuwah gave me another message. He said, go and shout this message to Jerusalem. This is what Yahuwah says. I remember how eager you were to please me as a young bride long ago, how you loved me and followed me even through the barren wilderness. In those days, Israel was holy to Yahuwah, the first of his children. All who harmed his people were declared guilty, and disaster fell on them. I, Yahuwah, have spoken. Notice how he points out that Israel is the first of his children, i.e., Israel is my firstborn. Just in case you didn't catch it, I'll repeat it. I remember how eager you were to please me as a young bride long ago, how you loved me and followed me even through the barren wilderness. In those days, Israel was holy to Yahuwah, the first of his children. All who harmed his people were declared guilty, and disaster fell on them. I, Yahuwah, have spoken. Listen to the word of Yahuwah, people of Jacob, all you families of Israel. This is what Yahuwah says. What did your ancestors find wrong with me that led them to stray so far from me? They worshiped worthless idols, only to become worthless themselves. They did not ask, where is Yahuwah, who brought us safely out of Egypt and led us through the barren wilderness, a land of deserts and pits, a land of drought and death, where no one lives or even travels. And when I brought you into a fruitful land to enjoy its bounty and goodness, you defiled my land and corrupted the possession I had promised you. The priests did not ask, where is Yahuwah? Those who taught my word ignored me. The rulers turned against me, and the prophets spoke in the name of Baal, wasting their time on worthless idols. Therefore, I will bring my case against you, says Yahuwah. I will even bring charges against your children's children in the years to come. Go west and look in the land of Cyprus. Go east and search throughout the land of Kedar. Has anyone ever heard of anything as strange as this? Has any nation ever traded its gods for new ones, even though they are not gods at all? Yet my people have exchanged their glorious God for worthless idols. The heavens are shocked at such a thing and shrink back in horror and dismay, says Yahuwah. For my people have done two evil things. They have abandoned me, the fountain of living water, and they have dug for themselves cracked cisterns that can hold no water at all. Why has Israel become a slave? Why has he been carried away as plunder? Strange lions have roared against him, and the land has been destroyed. The towns are now ruins, and no one lives in them anymore. Egyptians, marching from their cities of Memphis and Taphanes, have destroyed Israel's glory and power. And you have brought this upon yourselves by rebelling against Yahuwah your God, even though he was leading you on the way. What have you gained by your alliances with Egypt and your covenants with Assyria? What good to you are the streams of the Nile or the waters of the Euphrates River? Your wickedness will bring its own punishment. Your turning from me will shame you. You will see what an evil, bitter thing it is to abandon Yahuwah your God and not to fear him. I, Yahuwah, the Lord of heaven's armies, have spoken. Long ago, I broke the yoke that oppressed you and tore away the chains of your slavery. But still you said, I would not serve you. On every hill and under every green tree, you have prostituted yourselves by bowing down to idols. But I was the one who planted you, choosing a vine of the purest stock, the very best. How did you grow into this corrupt wild vine? No amount of soap or lye can make you clean. I still see the stain of your guilt. I, the sovereign Lord, have spoken. You say, that's not true. I haven't worshipped the images of Baal. But how can you say that? Go and look in the valley and in the land. Face the awful sins you have done. You are like a restless female camel, desperately searching for a mate. You are like a wild donkey, sniffing the wind at mating time. Who can restrain her lust? Those who desire her don't need to search, for she goes running to them. When will you stop running? When will you stop panting after other gods? But you say, save your breath. I'm in love with these foreign gods, and I can't stop loving them now. Israel is like a thief who only feels shame when he gets caught. They, their kings, officials, priests, and prophets, all are alike in this. To a carved image, to an image carved from a piece of wood, they say, you are my father. To an idol chiseled from a block of stone, they say, you are my mother. They turn their backs on me, but in the times of trouble, they cry out to me, come and save us. But why not call on these gods you have made? When trouble comes, let them save you, if they can. For you have as many gods as there are towns in Judah. Why do you accuse me of doing wrong? You are the ones who have rebelled, says Yahuwah. I have punished your children, but they did not respond to my discipline. You yourselves have killed your prophets as a lion kills its prey. O my people, listen to the words of Yahuwah. Have I been like a desert to Israel? Have I been to them a land of darkness? Why then do my people say, at last we are free from Yah? We don't need him anymore. Does a young woman forget her jewelry, or a bride her wedding dress? Yet for years on end, my people have forgotten me. How you plot and scheme to win your lovers. Even an experienced prostitute could learn from you. Woo! Boy. He is giving it to him. Yo, look. I love the book of Jeremiah. Look. Let me go back. Let me read this again. Verse 33. How you plot and scheme to win your lovers. Even an experienced prostitute could learn from you. Your clothing is stained with the blood of the innocent and the poor, though you didn't catch them breaking into your houses. And yet you say, I have done nothing wrong. Surely Yahuwah isn't angry with me. But now I will punish you severely, because you claim you have not sinned. First here, then there, you flit from one alley to another asking for help. But your new friends in Egypt will let you down, just as Assyria did before. In despair, you will be led into exile with your hands on your heads. For Yahuwah has rejected the nations you trust. They will not help you at all. Last chapter for the day. Jeremiah chapter 3. If a man divorces a woman and she goes and marries someone else, he will not take her back again, for that will surely corrupt the land. But you have prostituted yourselves with many lovers. So why are you trying to come back to me, says Yahuwah? Look at the shrines on every hilltop. Is there any place you have not been defiled by your adultery with other gods? You sit like a prostitute beside the road waiting for a customer. You sit alone like a nomad in the desert. You have polluted the land with your prostitution and your wickedness. That's why even the spring rains have failed. For you are a brazen prostitute and completely shameless. Yet you say to me, Father, you have been my guide since my youth. Surely you won't be angry forever. Surely you can forget about it. So you talk, but you keep on doing all the evil you can. During the reign of King Josiah, Yahuwah said to me, have you seen what fickle Israel has done? Like a wife who commits adultery, Israel has worshipped other gods on every hill and under every green tree. I thought, after she has done all this, she will return to me. But she did not return. And her faithless sister Judah saw this. She saw that I divorced faithless Israel because of her adultery, i.e., the 10 tribes being scattered first by Assyria, right? Judah got to stay a little bit longer. Y'all saw what the 10 tribes did. You saw what Israel, remember, because they were split, right? Family split. 10 tribes called Israel. The last two, Judah and Benjamin, called the kingdom of Judah with Levi. Mixed them a little bit of Simeon too, right? So they saw Yahuwah scattered them. Many years. You saw what your faithless sister Israel had done and how I put her away. Yo, look, listen. Let me go back and read it. Verse 6 again. During the reign of King Josiah, Yahuwah said to me, have you seen what fickle Israel has done? Like a wife who commits adultery, Israel has worshipped other gods on every green hill and under every green tree. I thought, after she has done all this, she will return to me. But she did not return. And her faithless sister Judah saw this. She saw that I divorced faithless Israel because of her adultery. But that treacherous sister Judah had no fear, And now she, too, has left me and given herself to prostitution. Israel treated it all so lightly. She thought nothing of committing adultery by worshiping idols made of wood and stone. So now the land has been polluted. But despite all this, her faithless sister Judah has never sincerely returned to me. She has only pretended to be sorry. I, Yahuwah, have spoken. Then Yahuwah said to me, even faithless Israel is less guilty than treacherous Judah. Therefore go and give this message to Israel. This is what Yahuwah says. Like, listen, we can see that today, right? Because those of us who just happen to be scattered in the Americas can clearly see that Judah, because that's what most of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, right, are scattered at in the Americas, South America, Caribbean islands, stuff like that. We can see that we're more treacherous than Israel, right? And our treachery is being shown all over the world, right? In some of the music videos, some of the craziness, world star hip hop, that's treacherous Judah, right? That's treacherous Judah. Who is not lying? Look, this section is entitled "Hope for Wayward Israel." It's hope for you because Judah is more treacherous than you are. Although you were scattered first with your treachery, they become worse than you. Look, whew. Then Yahuwah said to me, even faithless Israel is less guilty than treacherous Judah. Therefore go and give this message to Israel. This is what Yahuwah says. O Israel, my faithless people, come home again to me, for I am merciful. I will not be angry with you forever. Only acknowledge your guilt. Admit that you have rebelled against Yahuwah your God and committed adultery against him by worshiping idols under every green tree. Remember, Yahuwah, adultery and idolatry is the same thing, right? Adultery is idolatry, and adultery is, I gotta say that, I said it twice. Idolatry is adultery, and adultery is idolatry. Although you can talk about them separately, they're one and the same to Yah, right? Okay. Because one leads to the other. Idolatry leads to adultery, right? That's why they looked at as one and the same. Because if you committing this and you don't stop, you're going here to the gusto, to adultery, right? Yeah. Only acknowledge your guilt. Admit that you have rebelled against Yahuwah your God and committed adultery against him by worshiping idols under every green tree. Confess that you refuse to listen to my voice. I, Yahuwah, have spoken. Return home, you wayward children, says Yahuwah, for I am your master. I will bring you back to the land of Israel, one from this town and two from that family, from wherever you are scattered. And I will give you shepherds after my own heart, who will guide you with knowledge and understanding. And when your land is once more filled with people, says Yahuwah, you will no longer wish for the good old days when you possess the ark of Yahuwah's covenant. You will not miss those days or even remember them, and there will be no need to rebuild the ark. In that day, Jerusalem will be known as the throne of Yahuwah. All nations will come there to honor Yahuwah. They will no longer stubbornly follow their own evil desires. In those days, the people of Judah and Israel will return together from exile in the north. They will return to the land I gave your ancestors as an inheritance forever. I thought to myself, I would love to treat you as my own children. I wanted nothing more than to give you this beautiful land, the finest possession in the world. I look forward to you calling me Father, and I never wanted you to turn from me. But you have been unfaithful to me, you people of Israel. You have been like a faithless wife who leaves her husband. I, Yahuwah, have spoken. Voices are heard on high, on the wind-swept mountains, for weeping and pleading of Israel's people. For they have chosen crooked paths and have forgotten their God. My wayward children, says Yahuwah, come back to me, and I will heal your wayward hearts. Yes, we are coming, the people replied, for you are Yahuwah our God. Our worship of idols on the hills and our religious orgies on the mountains are a delusion. Only in Yahuwah our God will Israel ever find salvation. From childhood, we have watched as everything our ancestors worked for, their flocks and herds, their sons and daughters, are squandered on a delusion. Let us now lie down in shame and cover ourselves with dishonor. For we and our ancestors have sinned against Yahuwah our God. From our childhood to this day, we have never obeyed him. Sheesh. All right, y'all. That is our reading for today. That was Jeremiah chapter 1, 2, and 3. And this just gets better. The whooping gets worse, y'all. It gets worse. Okay. I hope y'all enjoyed that. If y'all never read through the book of Jeremiah, you in for a treat if y'all stay in here the rest of the days that we read through it. And let me tell you, it was the book of Jeremiah that first started getting my attention. As I was reading through the scriptures where things was where I was like, wait, hold on, what did it just say? Wait, what Bible I'm reading? Wait, this is the Bible, right? Hold on, wait. What do you say? Wait. And I remember the first time, I'll never forget it, the first thing that triggered my attention was when Yahuwah told Jeremiah to no longer pray for the people. I don't know why it stuck out, but I've always, I don't know, I guess it's just kind of indoctrination in the church where that's not something, like if somebody said, well, Yahuwah didn't tell me to pray for you or something like that. No, Yahuwah said don't pray for you anymore. Like, people would never believe that. And it shocked me. It caught my attention. I was like, wait, hold on. Is this a typo? Yahuwah said don't pray for these people anymore. Like, why would you say that? Aren't we supposed to pray for people? And that was my whole thing. And I'm like, wait, hold on. Let me go back. Maybe I'm reading this out of context or something. But he kept saying it over and over. He said, Jeremiah, I'm sick and tired of them. He said, stop praying for them. Now I understand why he said they going to do what they want to do, right? Your prayers are not helping them, right? You want them to do what's right, but they don't want to do what's right. So I can't answer your prayer, right? He said, well, I could answer your prayer, if they were in alignment, but I can't answer your prayer, Jeremiah. So stop praying for them. Stop wasting your breath on these people. They're bent on living how they want to live. So stop praying for them, right? And Yahuwah kept, as we get through the book of Jeremiah, you will see how Yahuwah constantly tells Jeremiah. And Jeremiah was weeping for his people because he didn't want to see them destroyed, right? They ridiculed Jeremiah. They tried to kill Jeremiah. They dropped him in a cistern, right? But Jeremiah's love for his people was unmatched, right? And he kept crying out to Yah. Yah said, Jeremiah, listen, look, I know you want me to save them, but they don't want to be saved, bruh. Stop asking me to pray for them, because I'm not going to save them. I'm going to save you. I'm going to come get you out of this cistern. They're your people that you praying for. They tried to drown you, my G. And you still want me to save them? You want me to let you stand here and save them? I'm not going to do that, because the righteous cannot die for the wicked. Y'all, alert him. Go alert him. They didn't drop Jeremiah the prophet into a cistern. Go get him, right? The wicked kings said to go get Jeremiah out the cistern, right? While his own people, Yahuwah's people, the people Jeremiah was weeping over and praying for, they tried to annihilate him because they said, we don't want to hear what Yahuwah is saying to us. Let us go do what we want to do, right? And when we're done, we'll come back to you and let you know we done. But that ain't the way y'all operate, right? Oh, it gets so good, y'all. Look at Jeremiah, it's so good. All right. I mean, it's all good, but I'm just saying. Especially when you can take it and you realize that Yahuwah's words are evergreen, like they are good forever. And when you read them, it's like it's still living today because it is. We can look at it now and see treacherous Judah is still acting the same way. And Yahuwah is still saying the same thing. So stop. Just stop it. I'm sick of it. You see how long they've been doing this? You see how long they've been doing this? Go ahead and go get that book that they done canonized and called the Bible and read some of the history of your ancestors. Has anything changed? Has anything changed? Right? What have your ancestors, what did I ever do to your ancestors to make them want to turn away from me? I'm like, Father, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why I'm acting like this. Right? Okay. All right, y'all. So we pause on page 242 of Fossilized Customs. And let's see. Oh, we was ending on the light and the light and the darkness, and the evening and the morning was one day. That's what we was explaining yesterday, and how evening, the two evening periods, actually mean dawn and dusk, not evening at night like some people are taking it. Because remember, like I said, everything that Yahuwah has said to us, that is true, because there's a lot of leaven in the Old Testament and the New Testament, right? But we can clearly see, we can verify truth by looking at it in nature, right? And that the very first argument that's ever argued about and still being argued about today is whether the Sabbath begins in the evening at sundown or whether the day begins at night, right? Just because of mistranslation, especially in the King James Version, because everybody, let's stick with the KJV. Okay, whatever. If you do, you can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. Just realize you need to check everything, right? And then test it, right? Check it. A good steward tests everything to make sure what you believe is sound and it's good information. It can be tested simply by opening up your curtains or walking outside of your house and watching the process of a day unfold or unfold, right? And it never changes. Every day there is evening, morning, evening, night. Evening, morning, evening, night. Evening, morning, evening, night. Dawn, morning, dusk, night. Dawn, morning, dusk, night. Evening, morning, dusk, night, right? So evening means dawn and dusk, right? Evening periods look exactly the same. You could be in the evening period and not be able to tell if you were going into the day or into the night until the sun begins to rise, or definitely if it's day, or no, if you woke up and it was the evening period and you didn't experience day or night for that day, but if you woke up or went outside during an evening period and you were completely lost for time, like what time is it? Is it morning or is it night? You would not be able to readily tell if it was morning or night if you came out during the evening period or dawn and dusk. Dawn and dusk looks exactly the same. It's that gray, hazy look outside, right? And you're not going to be able to tell until the lights start coming in with the sun or the day gets progressively darker. Then you would know you're at night. It's really easy to test, and you don't even have to do anything. You don't have to finagle anything. You just stand out, stand by, and see the salvation of your Lord. Just stand on watch, right? You don't have to do anything. And everything can be proven if you just observe the truth around you. Okay. All right. And there came to be evening, darkening, and there came to be morning, lightning, Boker, the first day. This suggests a 24-hour period. He's still kind of wrong on this because apparently he don't go outside and watch either. By interpreting the order of occurrence differently, differences in patterns of behavior can be seen today among the Nazarene. This has the effect of making a Sabbath day only to pertain when the sun is up, and so night has no pertinence to the Sabbath day. No man can work at night, they will explain from Yahushua's words at John chapter 9 verses 4. To these brothers, Sabbath begins at sunrise. It absolutely does, because every day begins at sunrise. And if we have the seventh day or the Sabbath day, didn't all the other days start with the sunrise? Why does it change on a Sabbath? It doesn't. And if anything is out of the ordinary, Yahuwah will specifically call it out. There were only two things out of the ordinary course of the day where Yahuwah said that this begins at evening time. It was the Passover event, right? Because it was only a few hours. I gotta go read it. It was only the Passover event and the Day of Atonement, right? But if you read exactly what it says for the Day of Atonement, it tells you, right? It tells you, like, it literally tells you. It says Listen to what it says. And I'm going to repeat it. It says, the Day of Atonement is the 10th day. I'm kind of paraphrasing, but this is what it says. The Day of Atonement begins on, the Day of Atonement is the 10th day of the 7th month, but began the Day of Atonement the night before. The night before, on the 9th day, right? The night before is what? The 9th day. And he says the 9th day, on the 9th evening, right? Which meaning that the light of this day, the light of the 10th day, what comes before the lights of the 10th day? The night of the 9th day. Yahuwah called that out. Like, that's in plain English. So if the night of the 9th day, which comes before the lights of the 10th day, is considered a night, and the evening, which ends the day, which ends the 9th day, the ending of the 9th day ends at the night time, night, darkness time of the 9th day, right? Then you go into the 10th day, the light of the 10th day. Then please tell me, how does the day start at night? And he called it out, but some reason people are like, you're reading it, but you're still saying something else that it's not saying. People are reading it and they're regurgitating what they hear. Like, they're hearing it, but they're being told what to read. That's why they can't understand it, because they're being told what this says instead of reading and comprehending in plain English and friggin' looking out the door and see what it says, right? People can be wrong. People can be wrong. Their explanations can be wrong. The word, even the infallible word of the Lord can be wrong, right? He didn't name it that. Wrong people named it that, right? They've canonized what they wanted to, added what they wanted to, taken away from the prophet's words what they wanted to push their narrative. They can be wrong. That Bible can be wrong. People can be wrong. Interpreters can be wrong. Nature, which Yahuwah has created and put in operation, that never changes, right? Clearly the seasons change, but that's the course of the nature, whatever. That doesn't change. Just like Yahuwah doesn't change, right? So who is lying, right? What we can go and verify with our eyes. Let Yah be true and every man be a lie, right? Even they're like, how do we keep screwing this up? And then they take that one part that was called out specifically for this day, right? Remember the atonement, the day of fasting, we talked about this. And my explanation may not be 100%, but he was like, look, everybody need to fast on this day. Everybody set themselves apart. Everybody. But I want you to start it the night before, right? Why? As my understanding, this day, because you'll still get to eat on the 9th and the 10th day. Because some people, and I'm a person, because I couldn't make it past dinner time, right? Couldn't make it past. I needed something to eat. Look, fast on the 10th day, right? But listen, you can eat. You can eat after sundown on the 10th day, right? You can eat after sundown on the 10th day, because although the Day of Atonement is the 10th day, I want you to begin celebrating it the night before. And half of the time of the Day of Atonement, from when he told us to celebrate it, you're freaking asleep, because he told you to start it on the 9th day. You going to bed with a full belly from the 9th day going into the night. You ate dinner. We just need to eat this before the sun go down, right? Because the Day of Atonement is tomorrow. So go ahead, eat what you're going to eat. And some people actually overeat. I'm not recommending that, right? But you're not going to go more than a whole 24-hour period without something in your belly, right? And if you practice the principle, like what I talk about when you're trying to do a fast, when you wake up, you just don't start your digestive system with any food or even anything to drink, even water. Just hydrate yourself really good before you go to bed. You would not even be hungry, because you would have not started up your digestive system until you break your fast, right? People get up in the morning and break their fast. They break their nightly fast. Breakfast. Break fast. Breakfast. Don't break your fast from the night before. Let it carry on until the sun goes down on the Day of Atonement, then you can break your fast. Drink some water. Go on and eat whatever. It's only been 24 hours. You ain't going to kill yourself if you get a big meal just like you did before the sun went down on the 9th day. You won't die, right? All of that, it's like, it's obvious to me now. It wasn't so, I can't say, right? It's not obvious when you're being told what to believe, when you're being told what this says and you don't actually go read it for yourself, right? So I can't really knock people, because if they haven't broken, if their state hasn't been broken and kind of unplugged themselves from doctrine, churches, even messianic congregations that try and tell you what this says. Listen, we can tell you what it say. Yeah, open your Bible, say, but nobody really ever follows them. Like, you look like you following along what he say, but most people got their phone in their Bible, scrolling, or swiping right or swiping left. While the preacher preaching, or the teacher teaching, or the evangelist evangelizing the congregation and the lost souls out there in the pews, right? We've all been there. We sit through this, right? We know the game. Look, when you start reading it for yourself, things are going to start popping out and questions are going to start coming up. And they should. They very well should. But some people think, oh, that's the devil. Get out of here, devil. No, they start trying to get your attention, foolish. Okay, listen. To these brothers, Sabbath begins at sunrise. Do we have the capacity to be different, yet have love? Please don't do it because I do it, but study. I rest every week, beginning at sunset and end at the end of the 6th day, sunset. And there follows a twilight of nearly 30 minutes before the night arrives. Complete darkness, right? They call it twilight, or, yeah, twilight. No. Twilight, actually, yeah. There's dawn, daylight, dusk, twilight, then darkness, right? It's like right there. I looked up twilight before. I guess you can kind of put that in with like dawn and dusk. I kind of think so, but I don't know. I need to look at a little more, some more of the definitions, but they even separate twilight, right? But you really can't tell the difference for real, right? Between twilight, dawn, and dusk. You really can't. Okay. One of my favorite scriptures to quote that establishes whether Sabbath begins at sunset or sunrise is Nehemiah 13:19. Also see context. And it came to be at the gates of Jerusalem, as it began to be dark before the Sabbath, that I commanded that the gates be shut, and commanded that they should not be opened till after the Sabbath. Like, I don't even know why he used this, because if you use this, you have to use the beginning of the day as well with dawn. Like he's also cherry picking scriptures here. He's doing exactly what he talked about yesterday. People who go and pull scriptures to verify what they already believe, instead of actually reading it in its proper context, right? And you can't just read here. You have to actually go and observe, right? You can be a whole theologian just by studying this book and be completely wrong, because you haven't walked out into the real world. Just like somebody can be a bookworm or book smart, but they can go through the course or all the book knowledge for whatever it is that they're studying, or for whatever job or whatever profession they have. You can have all the book knowledge, right? And it'll give you the basis of everything, even how to troubleshoot problems that may happen in a field. But until you actually get in the field, you're not going to realize that some of this, what sounded so pretty and all in order, it doesn't work in the field. It absolutely doesn't work. That's why you have to have on-the-job training. You got your degree, so what? It's a piece of paper. That means nothing out here, right? It means nothing out here. Some things will apply. A lot of things will apply, but some of it will not, because it just doesn't work the way that the book is telling you to do it, right? And so even sometimes you have those, I see it all the time, right? In management, that's running everything, who have never had experience in the field. And then you got the ones who are actually out in the field working it. No, we're telling you this can't work like this. And you got the ones in the office. No, it says right here, I know what the book says, but come out here. You sit in the office all day. Come out here. Let us show you exactly what's going on. They come out there. Well, oh, shoot. Wait, let me get my book. Hold on. Who wrote this book? Is this outdated? No, this is the newest edition. Wait. No, we got a problem here, right? Alicia said, just like nursing, you can be an A student, but until you're on the floor, you have no idea what you're doing. And that is true in every field. So you got the book scholars and the Bible scholars and the theologians that have gone through school. They done got their ordination. But until you have actually been out there in the field, you have no clue. But you sit up there all sedity like you know everything. And that's why you always got the fights between the management and the actual crew. Because the crew is trying to think the crew trying to tell you how to do your job. And they really are, because they got the experience. And then they're telling you, look, bro, just come out here and see what we're saying. But you're too high sedated. I don't get paid. That is beneath me. That's what y'all out there for. When you get your degree, you can come up here and then you can talk to me. But until you can show me that piece of paper, and now they're ready to fight. We coming for your head. But let me tell you, there is no better person to be in management than someone who has risen, that doesn't come up out the mud, right? Them, they make some of the best supervisors, some of the best bosses ever, right? Especially when they don't get up there and forget where they didn't come from. Like, no, let me tell you something. When we're out there in the field, I know you've never been out there and you've been in this position for quite some time. But while I was out there, then when you got somebody that makes it up into management, that's come out the mud from where all your people still in the mud, you got a voice inside. You got some help inside, right? And a lot of times, all your help is only going to come through that person that knows exactly what you're talking about, because now they didn't got that certificate that they say you need to come have before you come even open your lips in their direction. Okay, look. My certificate, I'm a manager now. Listen, let me tell you, that don't work out there. He gonna come in there and tell you the same thing, and he gonna give you some attitude. I'm here, let me tell you something. I don't care. You still wet behind the ears. You have no clue what they're talking about. And I'll fight for them every single day, because this is what's happening here. See, this, come on. I'm going to take you out there. You ain't got to listen to them. Let me, come on, come with me. I'm the project manager. We're going to go out here on site so you can see. Matter of fact, how about you put on some working clothes, take off some nice little shoes, get on some steel toes, put on a uniform, and you come out here and we're going to work with our guys. They don't make it past 2 hours. Oh, yeah, okay, write this up. I'm going to go back to the office, I believe you. Write this up and we'll get this done, whatever you need, right? It's the same thing. It's the same thing with the scriptures. It really is, right? It really is, y'all. Look. But he's doing the same thing with his explanation like that he was just talking about, right? So the interlinear Hebrew English rendering of this text shows that before the Sabbath shadowed the gates of Jerusalem, they were commanded to be shut. Just as each month or new moon begins with a dark moon, so the beginning of each day begins at the darkening. It does not, right? And clearly we know he doesn't read the book of Enoch, because maybe it may not be inspired to him. But we've talked about this before. The book of Enoch, every bit of it, with the exception of the first few chapters where it's talking about the angels, you can't really verify that, right? You can't really. But everything in nature, as it's written, that's something we can test. That's something we can verify. And that's what this argument is about, right? Yes. Enoch does say that the new moon is black. It tells you that, right? But it tells you begin counting her days at the first sliver of light, right? That's what it says. You have to go read it. Matter of fact, everything about the luminaries you can read in the book of Enoch, starting at chapters 72 all the way to 82. Actually, I think it's chapter 70 to 80. 70. No. It's in the 70s to the 80s. I know for a certainty, from 72 to 82, because I'm in them all the time. But I actually think you go back to 70. Read books of Enoch, chapter 70 to 83. I know, because 72 to 82, that's the meat of everything, all the luminaries. But reading that and you will see, right? Because you can't see the dark moon. Unless, look, unless the sun is already out. Because at the beginning of each month, the moon rises and sets with the sun for that first week. Almost the whole 7 days, but before the whole 7 days has passed, you'll begin to notice that the moon rises a little bit later. And as the month progresses, the moon rises later and later after the sun until she then rises at night to completely begin to light up the night, right? She's the guardian of the night. She lights up the night. That's her watch. But she has to get her light from the sun. She can't light up the night if she's completely black. So it does begin the new month, but you can't start counting it until she gets her light, right? So don't take that out of context. It is the new, right? Because it starts in darkness just like a seed. We are unseen. We are in complete darkness until we get that first sliver of light and we break our mother's matrix and are born through her 2 legs, right? That's the first sliver of light. We have come out. We can see you now, right? There is a baby. We knew the baby was there. Nobody will deny that a baby is not there. Like, we will not deny that it is the new moon, clearly, because we've just seen it wane completely. It was going out. So after this, we know what the next cycle is. It's darkness before she begins to gain more light. So we would not deny that there's a baby there. There is a baby there. There is a new moon there. But you can't count it until you can see it, right? Which is why they say, it's crazy. I don't necessarily like this rule. And I think it's changing everybody would say that an unborn child is a human, right? You should still give them rights to life. You really should. But with the screwed up way the books are and stuff, well, the baby hasn't taken its first breath. Technically, I see what you're saying. It hasn't taken its first breath of air. But that child is breathing it's not breathing air, right? The atmosphere is different. It's like a fish inside the liquid in a placenta, right? That's what it's breathing, right? But it's working. The baby is working just fine, right? Until we can see the light of day, until we can see that baby being born, right? It's the same thing. Everything can be proven in nature and in our bodies, right? So as long as you remember that, you can stay on track. You will be able to keep yourself on track. Okay. So I don't agree with half of what he's saying, but he said beginnings seem to be a progression of darkness to light. That I agree with, simply with the explanation I was just giving with the babies being born. You start in the darkness, then you come into light, right? But we don't begin to count it like on the books for real until we can see it. Now we can count the days of the month, because you can't count the month in darkness. There's no light. Well, which day are we at, right? And we can't tell which day of the month we're actually at if we can't see it. But as the moon progresses in light and she waxes, we can literally count and we can tell, we can pinpoint the week we're in, right? And we know that when we get to the full moon, that we're at the 15th day of the month. You can count if you study. Some people say, well, you can't count it, you're Muslim. No, that's freaking common sense. Pay attention to it for a few months. Take a year and just watch the progression. Count it on a calendar. Literally, do the paperwork while you're doing the on-the-job experience and correct what they're saying from the book, right? Okay. Sabbaths and new moons. In a relationship, those who revert to the lunar Sabbath system are reading texts like Isaiah 66:23 and perceive an equivalence between a weekly Sabbath and a new moon day. Let's analyze that carefully. And it shall be that from new moon to new moon and from Sabbath to Sabbath, all flesh shall come to worship before me, declares Yahuwah. They explain that the connective word "and" makes both things the same, marrying them in likeness, though they are distinct from one another. The verse is discussing the span of time from new moon to new moon, and another span of time from Sabbath to Sabbath. All flesh will worship Yahuwah all the time. Yahuwah used these terms to gather all time into a kind of net. His worship will have no break in it. Should we not worship every moment? Now, most do not, but those in the world to come will do so. from new moon to new moon, and from Sabbath to Sabbath. Forcing texts to say what they aren't saying is what Peter warns us of, and he called it twisting the scripture. So clearly, if we're reading that in context, we would know that Yahuwah is saying, when he says from new moon to new moon, from Sabbath to Sabbath, him using that in the context where it was in, that's pretty much telling you that's going to be all the time. But we clearly know on the Lord working level in this realm, new moon to new moon is a span of a month. And from Sabbath to Sabbath is a span of the week. We clearly get that. We get that. And we know that they are separate and they're distinct in themselves, right? Because one is counting the month, one is counting the week, right? But when Yahuwah was using it, he said, look, from new moon to new moon, and from Sabbath to Sabbath, all flesh will come and worship me. And the context of what he was saying was, it's going to be happening all the time. Not just here and not just there and not just at this time and not that at this time, but for all times, every day, from new moon to new moon and from Sabbath to Sabbath, all flesh will come and worship me. They're not going to set aside a single day. It's going to be every day, right? So when you cherry pick scriptures like that to make it fit your doctrine or your theology, you get this garbage, right? Instead of reading in its proper context, not trying to make Yahuwah say something that he didn't say, when he was using this as an example to get it through your thick head that he's going to be worshipped by all people at all times, right? At all times. That's the whole point of that in its proper context. Okay. Forcing texts to say what they aren't saying is what Peter warns us of, and he called it twisting the scriptures. The text does not say on new moons or on Sabbaths, but from one to the other. The manna which Yahuwah fed Israel for 40 years is related to the week that it made the... I'm reading too fast. The manna which Yahuwah fed Israel for 40 years is related to the week in that it made the arrival of each Sabbath very easily recognized. Teachers are saying the hidden manna. Yahuwah used manna, not the moon, to teach us when the Sabbath day arrived each 7 days. 7 means Shabuah, a week, yes. Okay. When a statement is made in Scripture, which involves a list of several things, some are teaching the items not only connect the words together in a sentence, but that the and, A-N-D, unites them or marries them in the likeness and oneness. This is faulty interpretation. I agree with that. Like the example we just gave, what he was saying is that there ain't going to be no break in my worship. Everybody everywhere going to worship me all the time, right? That is faulty interpretation when you marry them in likeness and oneness, not keeping it in a proper context. The sun and the moon are used with an and in between them, but these two are not the same things. Good and evil, Cain and Abel, Adam and Kawa, or Eve. These are distinctions between things and people. The and, A-N-D, in no way makes them the same or equivalent. Sarah, his wife, and Lot, his brother's son, were not the same entities, but completely distinct individuals in their persons. David, or David, and Goliath were both people, but very different people. In the same way, new moons and Sabbaths are distinct. If we are told the first day of the 7th moon is a Sabbath, this means by deductive reasoning that the other 11 moons are not Sabbaths unless they happen to coincide with a weekly pattern established during creation week. The example that I was just giving earlier about the Day of Atonement. When I say when he wants a change and a break of what's normal, of what he's created, he will specifically call it out, like he did on Passover and like he did on the Day of Atonement, right? And that's he gave another example in that 7th month, but he used the Day of Trumpets, which is called out, right? It's called out. Listen to what it said. If we are told the first day of the 7th moon is a Sabbath, this means by deductive reasoning, by just thinking about this, and why would he call this out? Okay, so if the 7th month, the first day is a Sabbath. Is the first day of all the other months a Sabbath? No. He only called out this one because it's a feast day. It's a feast of trumpets, right? Look, listen. And technically, the Feast of Trumpets is, before I say that, the Feast of Trumpets is not a Sabbath. Hold on. But, y'all, hold on. But I think it actually does fall on a true Sabbath, which would which would technically make it a Sabbath, right? Look, you know, my shenanigans with pre-marking ahead of time. We talked about this at the beginning of the year, right? So the Feast of Trumpets would be, mind you, if the moon cycles fall in accordance like I pre-calculated them, right? Look, it would be on September the 21st. September the 21st would be if the new moons keep doing what they do, right? Which they are. I just need to make sure my calculation is sound, right? So the Feast of Trumpets, the seventh day of the, the first day of the seventh month will be September the 21st, right? And so what I noticed in the pattern was that the most of the feast days actually fall when they're called Sabbaths. In all actuality, they actually fall on the Sabbath days, which would make them what the Jewish people call them high holy days, right? High holy days. But counting Yahuwah's, keeping track of Yahuwah's time, his fixed calendar, like he did, it will cause it to perfectly line up with Sabbath days anyway, which blew my mind, right? So it will be the first day of the seventh month will be a Sabbath, right? Because it actually falls on a Sabbath day, right? Which would actually be, it's weird how it falls. It's not weird, but until you like really look at it, you'll see what I'm talking about. But you have to be tracking it to see, right? I can sit here and explain to you, but until you actually get out there and get in the field, in the mud, and do the calculations yourself, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. So people that just do that by following bookwork, it's hard for them to understand, and they're going to argue with you. But I'm telling you, you get out there and track it, you'll see exactly what we're saying, right? So that's why I'm like, I ain't arguing with you. I ain't arguing with you about this. Right? Okay. So just because the first day of the seventh month is a Sabbath doesn't make the first day of every other month a Sabbath, right? That's not what it's saying. They're separate and they're distinct, right? Okay. Hold on. Let me go back. If we are told the first day of the seventh month, the seventh moon is a Sabbath, this means by deductive reasoning that the other 11 moons are not Sabbaths unless they happen to coincide with the weekly pattern established during creation week. To reason from a general principle using logic, we can arrive at what is factual truth by deduction, right? So let me finish reading this. Deduction literally means that we arrive at our conclusion by deducting, subtracting what is known to not apply, and this principle is how we arrive at a conclusion by reasoning, right? So this is almost like growing in grade levels in school, right? You cannot begin to teach a preschooler, although you can, depending on how much knowledge they already have, because that right there, it blows my mind because it's been tested. Preschoolers and first graders can actually do algebra problems. They can. I'm going to try and find that video for y'all. I mentioned this before. So me saying that, I'm not going to say that can't happen, because it absolutely can. But they didn't like come out the womb knowing how to do that. They have been having very specific training from a very early age. Yes, Bella. Very early age on math problems, which yes.
Can you buy some more cut with 5 of them is fruit?
Okay, wait a minute, Bella. Hold on. They have been having very specific training from an early age, because it's known that the younger the children are, they suck up things, and they have a very high tolerance for learning at a very early age, from like the time they're born. Not that they don't have a high tolerance, but they've tested it and they've proven up to the age of 5 years old, that learning ability that children have, it is almost unmatched in any other time period in their lives, right? You can teach them to be proficient swimmers. I mean, you can teach them some of everything, and they've tested this even with math, with not just algebra, but trigonometry and stuff like that. And they took these children, look, not Caucasian kids, black children, high risk children who come right out the ghetto. They took them children to prove that there aren't learning abilities. There aren't learning disabilities, right? It's the environment that you set them in and what you give them to thrive in life, right? Nobody's born any less able to do anything than any other human being that's born on this earth, unless they're born with some kind of physical deformity which prevents them from learning, right? Excluding all deformity, like physical deformities and things like that. Everybody, it doesn't matter if you're white, black, Chinese, whatever, right? It doesn't matter what race. It's been proven with all children, and they use the example. They decide to take what they consider the lowest of all humans. Not saying that that's true, but they took high-risk black children, right? And they tested them with this. And when they tested it, they was like, well, this principle works with everybody, right? And they took these children and put them on stage in front of Yale students. And the students at Yale were completely amazed at the ability of these children. They say, wait, where did these children come from? Clearly they grew up in a home where they had, no. These are high-risk children who come from some of the worst and some of the poorest neighborhoods that we decide to run this test or this experiment with, right? We're telling you there is nothing that no human being cannot do. And they can be taught even some of the hardest problems in math, right? And not only taught, but they can recognize when problems arise. Because the teacher, like I said, I'm going to put this video up here. Some of y'all may have seen it. It's an old black and white video, right? But it's so good. And the teacher, the instructor, and the instructor was a Caucasian gentleman, right? And on the stage, he told them that he was going to purposely do some problems wrong to see which child could identify that he was doing the equation wrong. Do you know what they did while he was, oh, no. The kid's like, wait, no, you're doing that wrong. Oh, I am. You come up here and do it. Give me the chalk. This 4-year-old baby, all these squiggly lines, numbers. I'm sitting here like smoke coming out my ears. I'm like, what are we doing with our life? Like, what does our life really mean, right? You got freaking preschoolers doing trigonometry, and I got there and can't even help my children with their division homework. It blew my mind, right? So it's this same principle that's happening, right? And I said all that to get back to what he was saying here, right? He said, to reason from a general principle using logic, we can arrive at what is factual truth by deduction, right? And your deductive skills don't kick in until you have been taught like the different levels, right? One level of math builds upon another. And until you understand these, just like climbing the stairs of knowledge, right? Even in Egypt, with all the different languages, the only steps you could climb, to get to the king is up here on the 70th step, because there were 70 nations and 70 different languages. You need to talk to the king. How many languages you know? You only know 2. Go to the second step. And if he hear you, he hear you. If he don't, you don't. But here comes Joseph, right? Who overnight was taught, and I wish I could explain to y'all what happened to Joseph. Anyway, Yahuwah downloaded to him all the 70 languages, because before he succeeded and exceeded and stepped up all them stairs, he only knew his language, right? Overnight, a download was given to Joseph, and he now spoke the 70 languages. go take this message to Pharaoh. Boom. And they like, well, who is this Hebrew boy walking in here? And everybody else they're saying Hedron. They looking around like, oh, he a Hebrew. What he doing? He a climbing. And every step he took, he changed his language until he was face to face with Pharaoh with that 70th language. Like, hey Pharaoh, what's up? Right? And it said everybody was astonished that Jacob knew all the 70 languages of all the 17 nations of the world, where he stood face to face with the king, right? And that's why Pharaoh made him the second in command next to me. Like, clearly there's nobody smarter here than you, right? Look, I don't even know how I'm standing right here. You got all the authority that I got. The only thing you can't touch is my woman, right? Go ahead and do what you need to do, right? All these problems you say coming, you knew they were coming. You know this. There's nobody more competent to handle this and run this up than you. So you in charge of everything, Joseph. You just come let me know what you're doing. Just don't touch my woman. We good. Keep your hands out my cookie jar, right? Look. So until you can understand that each level builds upon another, you won't get it, right? And so you're using those same deductive reasonings and critical thinking skills when you're reading through scripture, right? And you're going out here to test. Like, okay, so this happens here. We know that, okay, it's dark, then it's light, then it's dark, then it's night. Okay, so we know that deductive reason. Okay, we understand this, right? So you have to use all the information that you gather up until this point to prove your theory. This is what he's talking about, deductive reasoning. So you can't say, Yahuwah called out, he said the first day of the 7th month, if we know that the first day of a 7th month is a Sabbath, is that to say that the first day of all the other months are also Sabbaths? No, it's not. Like, it seems like it's all a big math problem. Y'all, the earth is a lab, right? And we have to think like this when we look and we read stuff and people try to say that Yahuwah said something. Okay, well, let's prove this then, right? Let's prove it. Yahuwah has given us a place to prove and test everything. And don't think that you're doing too much when somebody says something. Well, I don't know that I quite believe that. Let me think about this for a little while. Let me go through here and do my own research and test. And then we all should be diligent in our study that way, testing everything anybody tells us, even what you hear from me, right? Because I'm not perfect in everything. Test everything, people. And we're going to pause right here today. So I hope y'all enjoyed the reading for today. Okay. We read Fossilized Customs, starting at page 242, all the way over here to page 243. We read the first 3 chapters of Jeremiah 1, 2, and 3. Y'all, it is Thursday, July the 15th, 2021, day 207 of year 3. We're reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 876. Remember, that is without the Sabbath days or the feast day Sabbath days added into the count. Why? Because we rest on those days, right? All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and do the blessing, which is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. Remember, the first 21 verses is a Nazirite vow, and a man or woman can take it. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, May Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon us and give us peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people. I didn't see any questions. All right, y'all. I'll see y'all tomorrow, bright and early, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I ain't gonna hit the snooze button tomorrow, y'all. I promise y'all. All right, y'all. I'll see y'all tomorrow, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Booze.